Welcome back to the News Forum. I'm Tony Clement. I'm host of Boom and Bust at the News Forum, but we're here at the Canada Strong and Free Networking Conference in Ottawa. We have a great guest with us today, David Boudeweel-Lefebvre. Have I said that right?
Perfect.
Okay. David, you were part and a lead member of this panel this morning talking about the province of Quebec and what the rest of us can maybe learn from Quebec about how it organizes its affairs with the federal government and internally. So tell us a little bit about what's on your mind with that. What can we learn from Quebec? What is Quebec doing differently and more successfully?
Well, we are oftentimes in English Canada that, Quebec has it good, was always able to get more than its share of the pie, in the Federation and in Canada. And one reason for that, and this is what I wanted to explain this morning, is that Quebec has developed a series of institutions, basically having its own police force, managing its pension fund, building a war chest to be able to invest in some projects that it wants to see move forward. And it helped Quebec to build this rapport de force with the federal government, whether it's with a liberal or conservative government, that Quebec could build this leverage into the relationship. And this is something that Saskatchewan, Alberta, or even Ontario could do should they choose to develop those institutions, because constitutionally they can do it. Quebec has done it before. So that was a little bit the message. And the message was that we need to have some dialogues, but instead of being in opposition sometimes between Quebec and the rest of the country, there could be places, especially in the conservative movement, where there could be some similarities and people could help one another.
Yeah, is the conservative movement well placed for those discussions to take place then?
I think they are in a better place than they were maybe 10 years ago. If you recall, at the time, the only province that had quote-unquote a conservative government was Saskatchewan. Now it's way different. You got Ontario, you have Alberta, you have a lot of the Atlantic provinces, Saskatchewan still, of course, Manitoba. So I think these kind of debates are easier to open now that you have more provinces that are on the center-right place, I would say, of the continuum, that you can have those discussions about provincial assertiveness. Definitely Saskatchewan and Alberta are having those discussions internally and in the country. So I think, honestly, the presentation came at a right time for the movement today.
So is Danielle Smith, let's say, the Premier of Alberta, is she having those discussions with François Legault tête-à-tête, or is this more of a broader discussion that's taking place?
Honestly, I don't think those discussions are happening at that high of a level. But I know definitely that Ms. Smith and her team in Alberta are looking at what Quebec did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s in building those institutions that eventually could replace some of what the federal government was doing in Quebec. So a lot of people will say, oh, but you want us to have more states in our lives. I say, well, it's a little bit different. Maybe you want a little bit less of the federal government. Maybe you want a little bit more of your provincial government to be able to have the lever of decisions, especially on the economic and financial side, that are closer to you.
Are Quebecers aware of this new dynamic, this new dialogue that's taking place? It seems to be far outside the usual federalist debates that we've had in the past few decades.
And I think one of the reasons conferences like CSFN today and others are important is that, especially with the social media and the new media, like what you do yourself, the debate is a little bit more out of the political circles. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that Quebecers and other Canadians can have those discussions and honest discussions, and that it doesn't always have to go through the official political conduits.
So let's bring this around to how you feel about being here at the Canada Strong and Free Network. Have you found it interesting talking to other conservatives from around the country?
Yes, very interesting. Actually, apart from COVID, I missed only one since 2013, so I'm always happy to come back and to meet the people and you see how the conference evolves and the different kind of, I would say, wings of the conservative movement that are in there. And I think the dynamics are very interesting. And this year, also having my own business proposition and discussing with people, I find a lot of opening, and definitely, our panel was well attended this morning, so it helps also break the ice and instigate those conversations.
Good to have kind of these informal conversations around the hallways too, eh?
Of course. Yeah. No, definitely. And it's called a networking conference, and it's not for nothing. The speeches are nice. but it's also very good that you're able to meet people and have those discussions. And there's some friends that I've met in previous conferences that are going to be friends for life. So I think it's really worth it to come and to have those discussions.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, because I've met some people here that I haven't seen for a long time, and I've met other people here that I've met for the first time. Thank you for being a guest on our program.
Appreciate
it's
it.
great to have you, and best of luck for the rest of the conference too.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you.